Hey everyone, True here, and today I'm back with another update of my database tier list, the last one in 2022. To calculate it, I collected the unit usage and power of 100 strong teams from around the globe in 7 hours, and then applied some modifications to arrive at WebTap, which is short for weighted average power in top arena platoons. In this video, we will first tier the new units where we already have preliminary data and then move on to see the other changes compared to the previous list. Last but not least, we will take a closer look at the top tier units and where they land in this latest edition. The first new unit we will look at is Sun Wukong. We already talked about her in the last video, but didn't give her a tier yet because the data wasn't sufficient yet. But now I can say she is going to the S tier for now. She's performing very well so far. Of course, with a better AI, she could be even better, but for now, that's the S tier for her. 30% of the top teams are already using her, and that already puts her close to the upper end of the current S tier. She is only the second unit with Stealthy Vengeance after all, and to the other one we will still get later on again. Her charge hold ground is really good, and especially being pushed back and coming in on the battlefield with already 3 charges is really great. But yeah, as I said, if she were to prioritize full charge above all and not use Vanishing Burst as much in certain situations, she could be even more OP, but as it is now, she's in the S tier. Next up we have Dark Alice. And if you follow my channel, you know that I had some good hopes for her, but unfortunately she has let me down a bit. Currently she is going into the A tier, which is alright, but yeah, she has some limitation. Now of course the Mega Poison stuff is really nice, and she has that instant devour with just one time unit to apply damage to a poisoned unit, but here's where the problem comes in, I think, at this point. The instant devour being locked for 100 time units really hurts her. There are many situations where she has the counter active from her poison and counter move, then gets attacked, but can't use the instant devour because it's still locked, and then she mostly just uses poison and counter again if she can't use Mega Poison Crush or Survivor's Fury. And what that basically means is that at this point she might already be dead because she will be attacked. And again, she's also vulnerable to burn and poison, especially so because her revenge doesn't apply if she is killed by a status effect. That said, if she pops off, she's really fun to watch. Next we have Fire Elmina, and she is going to the S tier. Her burn stun entry is really good. It can counter a lot of things, igniting all of the enemy team and possibly even stunning all or most of them. And also I think her AI plays well, considering her hate drops a lot as soon as she gets to 1 HP with her Burning Heart. Spirit management is also pretty good with her, so I think the S tier is well deserved. As for the remaining 2 new units, unfortunately we don't have enough data to tier them yet. As for my personal estimation, I have quite low hopes in Tiamat at this point, but very high hopes at Lancelot, who was just released. You can check out my other videos on them to see why I come to that conclusion. Let's go over all the tier changes compared to the last edition next, and keep in mind that especially in the lower tiers the sample size is quite low, which means that the tiers are not as trustworthy in their differentiation. However, I wouldn't really recommend you pull any unit below B tier at this point anyways. That said, let's start with the F tier, which contains units that none of the 100 top teams that I looked at are using now. And we have a few new joiners here. There's Maxima, a crisis unit that is well past her prime. We have Earth Reset, which is pretty much only good for her Poison 2 entry at this point. We have Water Velocia, who is arguably a bit undervalued in the F tier, but at the same time is kind of outdated as well. And there's also Light Clarice, which I would personally put quite a bit higher, but fair is fair. Maybe Tiamat can help her become a bit more relevant again. Now in the opposite direction we have some movement as well, going from F to E tier. There's Fire Ludmilla, the Burn Blood unit, Dark Elmina, the stealth unit with an interesting entry effect, Shadow entry, Storm Reset, who at least has the Stun Flash going for her, and Yuki, the only ice unit so far. And then we also have Norza joining, the Stun Survivor. Unfortunately, Artimaya goes from D to E tier, which I think is a bit of an understatement. I mean, even at one copy, she can still do a lot of good in many teams with the Stun Spirit entry. But to be fair, if you already have 20 super strong units, then there really is no need for her anymore, and we are looking at absolute top teams here after all. On the other side, Fire Antares gets a small bump to D tier. Maybe this fire unit benefits a bit from the new introduction of Fire Elmina. Let's move on to C tier, and all of the units you see here stay in the C tier. The same can't be said for Fire Callen and Dark Reset. These two units were still very strong at the beginning of 2.0, but at this point the C tier is probably already being quite nice to them, kind of feeding on their past successes. Callen, with her Survivor's armor and Crisis skill set, is struggling in today's meta, and the same is true for Dark Reset, who has that super poison and poison skin, but dies very easily. Falling to the B tier is Rin. This poison unit really needs to up her game because only 12% are using her right now. Of course, her second banner didn't come yet, but at the moment I see no signs of the poison struggle ending anytime soon. There's also very little changes in the A tier, the only one being a drop from Earthray, who I personally still wanted to fully awaken just 8 or 9 months ago, but at this point she is really struggling against all the other new units, even though she can be combined with the likes of Storm Velocia, Artimaya, Dark Reina and other units with strong entry passives, or possibly even reset Hold Ground Plus for some others. It might just not be enough anymore, even the lovely combination with Light Mirai. Her Stealthy Dawn passive is kind of wasted, and sometimes her AI really makes questionable decisions as to which unit to replace with the dog. For example, one situation that I just saw today was her having the ability to replace a Storm Velocia that was burning and at 1 HP, but instead she was like, nah, let me replace Light Hibiki, that's better. So yeah, I can see why fewer and fewer people in the top teams are using her. Still 57% usage though, to be fair. Other than that, the S tier actually has no changes besides the 2 new units joining and Earthray dropping, and none of the top 12 units from last round drop either. But let's look into more detail now for the SS tier. As number 12 we have Freya, and while I still have high hopes for her, she really needs to up her game as well, because only 42% are still using her. She is still holding on to SS tier, but it's really close. At this point in time I expected her to already perform a bit better than what she currently is doing, because even Bright Astrid is still ahead of her. I mean, to be fair, she is a 100% guard, but I'd argue still less universal than Freya, because Bright Astrid has the habit of setting your team on fire. Now the top 10 you've already seen if you watched my top 10 countdown with friends video, but we have number 10 Earth Anya suffering quite a big drop, not in tiers but in points. While 100% guards with armor are always nice, the inflation of stealth and armor ignoring units is really hurting them. And this poison guard is no exception. Then we have Light Mirai, still doing well. She's still a great spirit producer and supporter, but the stealth meta is also not doing her a lot of favors. The same is true for Light Mizuchi with the counter skin and hold ground. She's a great finisher unit, but stealth attacks don't trigger her counter skin. Nevertheless, a great unit, and the same is true for Storm Antares with the stun all skin, still a staple after 1.5 years, or even getting closer to 2 years since her release. Then there's Callen, the ultimate disruptor with her imposter exchange on the enemy team. Hold ground plus helps her a lot. Then we have the spirit loot, savage force and some sleep gimmicks. Now on to the SSS tier, and we have Dark Jeanne as number 5, dropping 1 rank. Still a great unit, but being pushed back by the stealth meta. 96% still use her anyways though. Even more are using Bright Ludmilla, the number 4. 99% of all top teams are using her, and I'm not sure if that is changing anytime soon. I mean, yes, we do have some really strong storm units that kind of counter her, but her Shield of Aldine is still really good. A guard that is undefeatable for such a long time and possibly can even reset this feature by stepping back or being set back by someone like Earthray is a very cool feature still, even though she doesn't combine extremely well with fire and stealth teams. And then we have Water Snow White joining the SSS tier as number 3 of December 2022. Back in July on her first banner, when I fully awakened her, I saw a lot of potential in her already, but I didn't quite think she would make it to the SSS tier because Storm Elmina is such a strong counter to her, but I was wrong. The Deadly Sleep and counter skin are just really great, and Storm Elmina is pushed away from the first platoons by Earth Mysha. Anyways, a Deadly Sleep chain is a joy to watch, and so the number 3 spot is hers for this month in my tier list. And number 2 this time is Storm Elmina. Yes, you see that right, Earth Mysha is the new number 1 in my SSR world rankings. Storm Elmina still obviously a very good unit with a very low hate, but it doesn't help her against the new number 1 Earth Mysha, who has the elemental advantage and can hit beyond guards with her Stealth Fury. And I'm not sure if this number 1 spot by Earth Mysha is gonna change anytime soon, especially considering that in the last months there were some new very strong Storm stealth units released in Sun Wukong and now Lancelot. So there you have it, the last data-based tier list of 2022, taking data from 17 top servers and their champions arenas. What are your thoughts on the tiers and the new units? Let me know in the comments below. On this channel, you will always be up to date with the newest Evertale developments, so don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot. And as always, thanks for watching.